Today we're going to talk about how you can know you have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Hi, my name's Rick Wheeler. I'm the author of Timothy Training. And there's several scriptures that give us assurance that we know Christ. And so we've talked a little bit about that in other videos. But today I want to talk to you about three specific things that will help you know that you know Jesus Christ. First one's found in Romans chapter 8, verse 16. And it says this: "The Spirit Himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God." That's the fancy way of saying I know in my knower that I am a child of God. The Spirit of God bears witness with my spirit. It's a spirit-to-spirit communication. It's something so deep inside of us it goes past the intellect and goes right into the heart. And we can know that we know that we know that we have a relationship with Jesus Christ. And that's found in Romans 8, verse 16. The second thing is found in 1 John 2, verse 3. And this is kind of an interesting thing as it applies to the church today. The second way we can find out that we actually know Jesus Christ, he says, "And by this you will know that you have come to know Him if we keep His commandments." Now, is he talking about all 10 commandments? Or what's he talking about? Well, I believe he's talking about the 2 commandments that Jesus talked about that encompass the whole 10 commandments. Jesus was asked one day by religious leaders of the day. They said to him, what is the greatest commandment? And Jesus said to them, well, the number 1 commandment is love God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind. And the second is likened unto it, he said, or just like it. He said, love your neighbor as yourself, because in these are all the commandments fulfilled. And so what we see here is that Jesus gave us this commandment to make it simpler. He said, if you just love God and love others, you'll be keeping the commandments. So one of the marks of knowing Jesus, having a relationship with Jesus, is that number 1, you love God, and number 2, you love others. And then the third thing is found in 1 John chapter 3, verse 14. It says this: "We know that we have passed out of death into life because we love the brethren. He who does not love abides in death." Boy, that's a strong statement, because what he's saying there is that Christians, if they don't show love to one another, then they abide in death. There's something about this love relationship that's so important to God. And when you see division in the church, you see the fighting and the bickering and all that goes on sometimes in churches, you have to stop and ask yourself, do they know Jesus? Because simply stated, if they don't love one another, then they remain in death. Now, I don't say that for you to go and pass judgment on people and say, well, that person must not know Jesus because they're not loving people. But I say that to point the finger at ourselves. You need to point the finger at you. I point the finger at me. Am I loving the brethren? And quite frankly, some of the brethren are not the easiest people to love. Years ago, I was a dean of a Bible college, and there was a gentleman that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I purposed in my heart I was going to love this guy, and so I treated him as if he was my long-lost friend, that he's the best brother I've ever had. And there were times that it would just really grate the wrong way in my heart, but I knew that I had to demonstrate love to him. There have been times that I've been accused of things wrongfully, and that really hurts, because it's a stab in the back sometimes. But you know what? God calls us to love. I was talking to a friend of mine who's an evangelist, and she was traveling all over the world, and someone close on her team stabbed her in the back one day and said some things to other people that were not true about her. And she came to me and confided in me, and I shared with her. I said, listen, we're called to love people. And she says, well, you don't understand what they did. And I said, well, I do understand. It's happened to me, but you're called to love people. And by this, you'll know that you have a relationship with Jesus. Jesus loves us in spite of us. And he died on the cross knowing that some people would spit in his face. He died for those that were sinners that would never give their life to Christ. He died for Christians that would backslide. He died for everyone. And those who received him got the forgiveness. So the way we know that we have a relationship with Christ is, number 1, it confirms it, the Spirit of God confirms it in our spirit, or we know in our knower. Number 2, we keep the commandments, love God and love others. And number 3, we have love for the brethren, and we go the extra mile. Hopefully this has been helpful. I look forward to talking to you again soon.